What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today I want to look ahead a little bit to some of the prospects out there in the NFL draft, specifically at a couple of positions, specifically with one university that I think is interesting, and it is the Oregon Ducks out in the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, a national power, a power that lost in the semifinals already to Indiana, and a power where a lot of the people were talking about Dante Moore, their quarterback. Could he be the number 2 rated quarterback in the draft? Could he be a target for the Jets at number 2? He had a very bad semifinal. We've known about that. But if you've been here with Jets Latest, you know that I was not necessarily targeting Dante Moore at number 2 at quarterback anyway. I think number 2 is going to be more like a Ruben Bain Jr., an edge rusher, right? I think number 16 is going to be more like a wide receiver, say Lemon out of USC. I have been talking about the other needs here as interior offensive line and safety. And what do you know? The Oregon Ducks have prospects at both of those positions that are right in line on draft boards with where the drafts pick. I also, earlier in the week, talked about kind of re-signing some of our own free agents, and I talked about interior offensive line and safety as 2 positions of need, 2 positions that are going to be very interesting to see if we bring back some of our own, guys like Cisco, guys like Simpson or AVT. And I talked about how free agency coming ahead of the draft could be a tell for where we are going. And by the way, if you haven't seen any of those episodes, you need to subscribe to Jets Latest. I am here every single day. Thank you to the over 2,600 of you who have subscribed. Thank you for watching these videos, liking these videos, engaging with me in the comments. Tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. But ironically, the Oregon Ducks have an interior offensive lineman and have a safety that I think is worth putting on the radar for all of you in the land of Jets Latest. First of all, at their guard position, they have a guard named Emanuel Pregnon. Emanuel Pregnon is the second highest rated guard in this draft. 6'5", pushing 320 pounds, and I think he could be a target specifically at that number 33 overall pick, at the first pick of the second round. Started 25 games during 23 and 24 at USC. He started at Wyoming, was sort of the transfer window, then was in Oregon last year. He's known as a stoutly built guy. And here's the thing, nasty demeanor is written all over his scouting report. You want that at a guard. He is projected to be able to be an above average guard, likes contact, the enforcer kind of mentality. That's what you want in a guard, that kind of attitude right there. So he would fit right in. I can see Aaron Glenn after drafting him saying he's one of us, right? Heavy hands, good grip strength, reliable, and they like him in the run game, okay? This, I think, could be a potential fit for the Jets at number 33. And the other thing I've mentioned here is, when I've talked about other tackles out there, like a Francis Mauigoa, Kiko's brother, right? The tackles go high in the draft. The best tackles are usually top 10 picks in the draft. Interior offensive linemen, though, are viewed as a lower priority in the draft. And so some of the best ones there do fall late first round, early second round. So Pregnon, I think, could be a target, definitely a name to know out of Oregon. And when you talk about offensive linemen from Oregon, the name Penei Sewell comes to mind and others. So Pregnon coming out of the Ducks, I think, could be someone to watch, especially if they don't splurge on guard. Let's say they bring Jess Simpson back in free agency at a reduced rate, and they still have one hole left. Look for Emanuel Pregnon to be on the Jets' radar when we start talking about this more and more in March and April. He has been rated on most kind of draft boards that I've seen kind of in the mid-30s, right there, and could be available for the Jets at number 33 overall. Another position that I have mentioned here a lot as a position of need that everyone out there in Jets Latest land talks about is safety, right? We have Malachi Moore, who we're going to bring back, who flashed at times, but we have Adams, who's a free agent, and we have Cisco, who is a free agent. I have said I wouldn't be mad if Cisco could come back at a reduced rate, but that still leaves a hole. Maybe they address it in free agency. We'll scout those guys a little bit later on this month throughout the offseason in Jets Latest. But Oregon as a safety out there who may be highly sought after in the NFL draft, and his name is Dillon Thieneman. Here's the thing. He is the second rated safety in this draft class, okay? Right after Caleb Downs. And Caleb Downs is, a top 5 talent, a top 10 talent, going to be going very high. The Jets are not going to be able to get Caleb Downs unless they're willing to maybe use number 2 or 16 overall on him. I don't see that as happening, right? So this guy, Dillon Thieneman, could be someone, or Thieneman, could be something the Jets are interested in, again, at pick 33 or maybe even pick 44, okay? I've seen him rated as in the low 30, in the high 30s, in the low 40s when it comes to kind of the draft boards. I've also talked about how there is the potential for the Jets to flip that number 33 pick, because as everyone resets their draft boards, right? Maybe someone wants to trade up to 33, the Jets trade down to 37, 38, something like that, where this could be their target. 6 foot, 205 pounds. Here's the thing. Listen, second team All Big Ten, third team All American as a freshman, transferred to Oregon, okay? Well rounded, 70 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, good in the run game, and 7 pass breakups, decent in the pass game. And what I see in his scouting report all over the place is this word versatility. Okay, known as a versatile chess piece, can be an impact player on all 3 downs, lines up anywhere, good combo of being able to defend the run, and has athleticism and ball skills. I remember talking about this when it was Malachi Moore, the idea that they can use him all over the field. We talked about the star position, if you remember, at Alabama, and how Malachi Moore played that, and then Branch, who was with Aaron Glenn in Detroit, played that. Dillon Thieneman can be kind of similar in this way, okay? That versatility that stands out in the scouting reports and on tape is something that I think will make the Jets, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, very interested potentially in this Oregon Ducks safety. And again, he is the second highest rated safety in this class behind Caleb Downs from Ohio State. So what that means to me, again, just like interior offensive line, the safeties do not generally go in the top 10 picks or the top 20 picks unless you are an all-world talent like a Caleb Down. So this Duck safety could be available early second round. And I think it's very interesting and kind of very fitting that both the second-rated interior offensive lineman and the second-rated safety in this draft could be available for the Jets around numbers 33 and 44, and it just so happens they both go to the same school, the Oregon Ducks, who have been churning out pros as of late. Good old Nike school up there in the Pacific Northwest. But that's not all. There are also 2 defensive line prospects from the Oregon Ducks that should be on your radar as well. I know I've been talking about someone like a Ruben Bain at number 2 overall. There's Avril Reese out of Ohio State, who's a do-it-all linebacker that could be a guy really, really high in the draft, okay? Well, if we strike out there on the defensive front, here are 2 other names to know. Again, out of Oregon that could be targets at 33 or 44, and or if they flip 33 and get even more draft capital early in the second round, middle of the second round. The first is defensive lineman Amori Washington. He has been a guy that is zooming up draft boards, 6'3", 330 pounds, good strength and power, but at 6'3", 330, has elite quickness and athleticism, okay? The pass rush grade he had from PFF this year was really good at 72.4, 14 pressures, 8 games with at least 1 pressure, 4 games where he had multiple pressures. Defensive lineman Amori Washington, he's kind of stout at 330, but really athleticism, quickness for a guy that size. The other one to know, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I apologize, is Matahu Yongjulehi. The same as, like, remember the quarterback, DJ Ongulelehi? This is the same name. 6'5", 272 pounds. Size and speed, athleticism, could be an edge, a quality edge in the NFL. And here's the thing I thought was interesting. In 2024, he had 10.5 sacks. And he had that on a D-line that had 3 picks go in 2025, right? 3 other members of the Oregon Ducks, right? Harmon and others were drafted and are on NFL rosters, yet it was he who led the team in sacks. So these are two other kind of defensive linemen that you should know. Okay, led in sacks in 2024, also had 38 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and he's known to have long arms and be able to get off the ball really quickly. So there you have it. Two D lineman prospects, but really the ones to watch are the safety Dillon, who I think could be a target in middle of the second round with 33 or 44, and Emanuel Pregnon, I think, is truly important to note as an interior offensive lineman, one of the highest rated interior offensive linemen in this draft class, and someone who could fill a need for us. Remember, we are young and good with Fashanu, with Membu, with Thieneman, right? We know we have Myers as a backup. We have the ability to potentially bring back Simpson or AVT. I don't think they're going to bring them both back. I don't think they're going to want to start Myers and move Thieneman to guard. This could be an answer. Remember the name Emanuel Pregnon for the number 33 overall pick. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. Thank you again. Remember to watch these videos, like these videos, subscribe to the channel, and engage with the comments. Speaking of which, let's see what some of you Jets Latest regulars have to say. We got BK Trainer 9 saying, I don't think they should keep both Sherwood and Quincy. They are both a little undersized and limited. A big linebacker is needed in the middle along with D linemen. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's a valid comment. In this day and age in the NFL, it's more of a passing league. I like the speed that they bring to the linebacker level. And quite frankly, I think Briggs and Phillips were good in the interior defensive line, and we can add depth to that. So I like what Briggs and Phillips have done. I even did a video on them both a little bit earlier this week. Vinny Bad says Chambliss is a gunslinger. I want him, no Diddy. Well, you could put the baby oil away. He's talking about the Ole Miss quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss. And listen, I don't think we're going quarterback in the top 44 picks. However, we have fourth round picks, right? And I think that in the fourth or fifth round, that could be a place for a quarterback that's not, Mendoza or Moore or Ty Simpson. There are a number of other quarterbacks who, quite frankly, at the beginning of the year, were very highly rated and then kind of fell off on one level or another, right? I'm talking about there's guys like Mateer out of Oklahoma. There's guys like Klubnik out of Clemson, Aller out of Penn State. I could see the Jets spending a fourth or fifth round draft pick on one of those guys if available to have in the fold and be a developmental guy. I could see that. Chambliss, I think, if he goes out, it's unclear if he's going to come out. I think will be gone before that. But think about it. Like Quinn Ewers out of Texas a few years ago was a guy who was well regarded, top pick, then had a bad year, fell down. I think the Dolphins drafted him with the number 5th round pick, and then wound up, getting starts at the end of the year and is still there as a developmental quarterback. We saw this happen in Cleveland, guys like Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. It happens all the time, and I wouldn't be mad if the Jets, instead of one of the top 44, but invest a mid-round pick on him. At Tank 123 says, build the offense, and that means 2 more wide receivers this draft, one in the first and one in the second. Would like to have Boston or Carnell Tate. And these 2 playoff games from yesterday showed that the defenses are suspect, but good offense can win games for you. Absolutely. I do think we're going to get wide receivers. He's mentioned Boston. He mentioned Carnell Tate from Ohio State. Those guys I think are going to be gone. I think Lemon is the guy I would love to see at number 16 overall. And, he said 2 wide receivers. I don't know if they're going to double tap wide receiver. If they get Lemon at number 16 overall, I actually think it's going to wind up being Garrett Wilson, Lemon, Mitchell, Mechie, and Isaiah Williams as your wide receivers. And if, again, you have Mason Taylor as well, healthy, competent quarterback play, I think that's enough. I think there are too many other needs to go ahead and double tap wide receiver. And as I've said before, I think it's edge rusher, D-line. I think it's safety. I think it's interior offensive line and wide receiver, but I wouldn't go with 2 picks. Now, if you want to tell me it's Lemon at 16, and then again, your 4th round pick, like at 103, I think it is, another wideout, That's all on the table. So we will have plenty of time to talk about that. But again, thank you for all of the comments. I love engaging with you. Thank you for helping me build this channel. And if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM, the fantasy channel number 87. Check me out over there. I am also a host of In Game Live on Sports Grid, helping you with your live betting. And you can always engage with me on social media as well, at Spittin' Speeds. We will be back tomorrow continuing to talk about what this Jets offseason could have on the horizon. But remember, subscribe so this way you get all of the episodes, especially as we go into a very important offseason for the Jets, Jets. But for this episode of Jets Latest, we out of here. Peace.